is up, YouTube? What is up, fellow fantasy people? And of course, what is up, the Catch fam? We already know what time it is, man. We are rolling right into another mock draft. I've got the second overall selection. This is a PPR scoring format. We are obviously on Yahoo, and we are in a 12-man league. Let's get it going, baby. I'm super stoked as always. Please go ahead and smash that like button if at any point in time you find this enjoyable, helpful, or entertaining. And I would kindly ask that you please consider subscribing for more future content like this. Let's get going, baby. So with this second overall selection, I mean, can you really go wrong with any of these guys? Dalvin Cook, Zeke, Derrick Henry, my number 2 on my rankings right now. But can you even go wrong with Alvin Kamara, the number 1 running back in fantasy football last year? I don't think you can, man. Any of these guys, up to Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones, I mean, they're all going to have monster years. I do not care what anyone says. So let's see, man. We've got our 19 more picks until we select again, man. So 23 and 26, we should be able to get some very valuable players at those positions, as we've now seen Dalvin Cook off the board, and it looks like we have essentially a full room of drafters here. So this should be a pretty good overall view of what things are going to look like. So at this point, a lot of these mock drafts, I'm just going to be drafting how I would be drafting if it was my personal league, because it's almost time for those fantasy football drafts, man. I hope you guys are excited as I am, as we've seen Zeke and Derrick Henry and Najee Harris going 6 overall. Don't be sleeping on Najee Harris, man. As week 1 gets closer and closer, this is a guy that people are going to be targeting. He is going to have a very, very good year. I like where they've got him projected around 1,100 rushing yards, just under, between 9 and 10 touchdowns, let's say that. Around 300 to 400 receiving yards and 2 receiving scores. I think Najee Harris is going to be an absolute stud this year. We see Saquon Barkley drafted 7th overall. Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones still sitting here, and now Nick Chubb is off the board, and I want to say I'm sure, and I was wrong. Travis Kelce is off the board, and now Aaron Jones is off the board. So a lot of good talent here in the top 10. 9 running backs and 1 tight end. A lot of talent will be off, and we still have 2 more selections now. Austin Eckler, and we still have so many good receivers. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, all sitting here. My guy Jonathan Taylor at the running back position is still here. I mean, obviously, we're not even into the second round, so plenty of talent to go around, and we will see if any quarterbacks start to go here. If we want to target a quarterback, and there goes Tyreek Hill. I'm telling you, man, if you have that 12th overall selection, you can go out and get Kelce and or Hill, or Kelce and Mahomes. I mean, why not do it, right? I mean, you know how many points you're going to be able to put up week in and week out, as we now see Devontae Adams off the board. But I'm just more and more as week 1 gets closer, I'm just thinking about that Kansas City offense, the firepower you would add to your fantasy roster if you can get 2 of those guys early on. And man, it's just a scary thought. You will absolutely be putting fear into your opponent week in and week out if you have 2 of those Kansas City players. So anyways, we've got Jonathan Taylor and Stephon Diggs after the selection of Devontae Adams, followed by that of DK Metcalf, all here in the second round. We will keep on rolling, man. And now we have seen Calvin Ridley as well as DeAndre Hopkins. A big run on receivers there. A lot of good receiver talent off the board. And now we see that of Antonio Gibson and now Joe Mixon off the board. So as this 23rd selection is coming up, I can tell you that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is probably my top target for that 23rd pick. And then for that 26th selection, David Montgomery would be my top target. But if those guys fall out, then I would probably take the talent at the tight end position and that of Darren Waller, or the talent at the quarterback position and that of Patty Mahomes. So a lot of good talent here. We just saw George Kittle go off the board and now Justin Jefferson. And it is my turn to draft. So let's go out and let's get Clyde Edwards-Helaire, sticking to my typical RB heavy strategy. And let's say, we did get Patrick Mahomes here, but we gave up the selection of a number one receiver or more depth at the running back position. Well, I do think that there's going to be a lot of good quarterbacks still available for us to draft, as we now see Darren Waller off the board, and we have one more selection until we pick. So we will just anticipate, and there we go. Patty Mahomes off the board. So like I said, Darren Waller and Patrick Mahomes, our guy Thomas went out, and he got those top talent players, and hey, I was eyeing them as well. I'm not going to lie. So as much as I like A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, a lot of good receivers here. Let's go out and let's follow our gut. Let's stick to our strategy, and let's go RB heavy, man. Alvin Kamara, Edwards-Helaire, and David Montgomery. Very, very happy with those three guys to lead this fantasy roster, as we now see A.J. Brown off the board, and let's see. I don't want to look at Gary's roster. Let's see when we pick again. Now we're looking at deep buff, so whatever. Okay, so 47th and 50th selection. So we still have two very, very valuable picks coming up here. We've seen a couple guys off the board, and that of Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, Josh Jacobs being selected 30th overall. I'm telling you, man, Josh Jacobs may be ranked pretty low on some draft boards, but he's going to be creeping up and up as week one comes closer. You guys know that I am super torn on Josh Jacobs, that I have been in love with drafting him all season. I'm starting to have a dilemma there, but only time will tell what happens come my actual drafts, right? So Allen Robinson off the board, and now Keenan Allen as well. And we will probably start to go with a quarterback and a receiver, or two receivers with these next two selections. But we still have 14 more picks until we draft, so really no reason to be eyeing anyone at this moment, as things can definitely change. Now 12 more selections until we pick again, as we see J.K. Dobbins as well as Chris Carson off the board. Man, no knock whatsoever, as we see DeAndre Swift off the board. No knock on J.K. Dobbins, but man, can you really expect him to rush for over 1,400 rushing yards when you've got Gus Edwards there and Lamar Jackson on that offense? Let me know in the comments down below, but I think this projection is a little escalated. But that's just my 2 cents. So we've still got both the Tampa Bay Buccaneers receivers on the board. We've got Darrell Henderson sitting here. I think he's a great value. He'll probably go very soon. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. You got Miles Sanders. A lot of talent here. But my top target for that 47th overall selection is probably going to be that of Lamar Jackson. Let's go ahead and see. We still got Josh Allen. I really like Kyler Murray being ranked 58th overall is a great value. He might actually be who we want to go out and get. We might want to probably go ahead and snag a receiver here with the 47th overall selection, as now Darrell Henderson is off the board. And I can tell you, really, whoever we are going to think presents either the best scoring and target ability or the best opportunity to be a number one receiver is probably who we're going to go and get. So for me, that's probably either DJ Moore or Tyler Lockett, as I don't believe Robert Woods will be available by the time we select. But Adam Thielen presents a pretty good overall value here as well, and I don't want to hate on Julio. Julio presents a pretty good value here also. So we'll see who's available by the time we select. One of these running backs might slide through, like a Miles Sanders, but I highly doubt it. So let's go ahead and just double check the tight end position, as Robert Woods is now off the board. A lot of good value here sitting at tight end, but I think this kind of second tier of Tyler Higbee, Robert Tonyan, guys like Dallas Goedert, they might kind of slide through, as we now see Kyle Pitts after the selection of Miles Sanders. So maybe a little bit of run on tight end coming up, but nonetheless, I still think we can get a pretty good value a little bit later on, as now Amari Cooper is off the board, and Josh Allen still sitting here as the top ranked player. So Josh Allen could slide to us as well, but I'm telling you, I kind of want to go ahead and target just that of Kyler Murray. But even then, we know that Thomas has Patty Mahomes on his team, so we might get lucky and be able to have a couple quarterbacks, at our disposal for that selection. There goes Josh Allen, so he is no longer one of the quarterbacks we can potentially select. And now we are going to go ahead and anticipate who gets selected, and it is Lamar Jackson. So, like I said, we have kind of, we're kind of fortunate that we know that it's very, very unlikely that Thomas selects a quarterback. But hey, don't sleep on people going out and stacking two quarterbacks, even if they don't play in a super flex league. So I'm kind of torn here. I'm going to go ahead and roll with Julio Jones, but I think you get pretty equal value in that of Adam Thielen. The only reason I didn't go with DJ Moore is because down the road, Robbie Anderson will more than likely be available, so we can at least target that same offense a little bit later on. So let's go ahead and just pull up the quarterbacks. And as much as I like Dak Prescott for this upcoming year, I'm going to keep my eye on Kyler Murray, who on some rankings out there is the QB number one. So I'm going to be very happy if we are able to select him here as we see Myles Gaskin off the board. And just one more selection until we pick again. And we will just anticipate and watch the clock go down. And I think we're going to get our guys. We have 4, 3, 2, and 1 seconds left, and they went out and they got a very good value in DJ Moore. So let's get our guy, Kyler Murray. I really like the start to this roster overall. I think we're going to be able to add some good receivers in some later rounds and some good tight ends and even some running backs. So let's keep on rolling. All right, we will keep rolling as TJ Hawkinson was off the board and now Brandon Ayuk. So I think there are going to be plenty of good receivers available in some of these. Let's go ahead and see where we're picking 71 and 74. So actually pretty good value within those picks as well. But I'm telling you, there's going to be so much depth at the receiver position that I'm not even stressing. I mean, the firepower of just Alvin Kamara, Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery, and Kyler Murray is going to put us in a prime position week in and week out, as now we see Travis Etienne and Russell Wilson off the board. Man, I did not realize how difficult Russell Wilson's strength of schedule from a fantasy perspective is this year. I mean, if any team's going to come out and outperform their respective strength of schedule, it's probably the Seahawks, right? If any quarterback can do it, it's probably Russell Wilson, right? But after the selection of Justin Herbert, we've seen Kareem Hunt off the board, followed by Mark Andrews as well as T. Higgins here in the 6th round, and now Damian Harris is off the board. So we will probably be targeting, I really have been targeting Chase Claypool time in and time out as a receiver 2 or receiver 3. But I'm telling you, man, his injuries are starting to really scare me. I still think he holds some tremendous value here, but overall, he is really scaring me from a fantasy perspective. We now see Ronald Jones off the board, someone who I have been eyeing this entire draft, but I still think we have enough, great value at that running back position that there's no reason to stress. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go out and get a receiver here. Probably going to be either that of Deontay Johnson if he's available, or and there goes Deontay Johnson after the selection of Tom Brady. But I do like Robbie Anderson here, someone who we talked about a little bit earlier in this mock draft. Jamar Chase presents pretty good value, and I still like Chase Claypool as well, as we now see Robbie Anderson off the board. And with that 74th overall selection, we're going to probably target the tight end we like the most. But part of me wants to go out and just pick up James Robinson here as well. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's check the tight end position. Man, I'm telling you, I think we can get a tight end to slide to us. So let's go out here. I mean, it's really a toss-up, between which two of these guys we want the most. I'm going to go out and get James Robinson, and then we will see if Chase Claypool is still available. And if he's not, you guys already know what time it is, baby. It's Jerry Jeudy time, the savior to our fantasy rosters in these mock drafts. And I think he's essentially as valuable as a Chase Claypool, and he's projected to have better numbers, at least through Yahoo's site. So he is someone who I've been super high on. We're going to go ahead and snag him here. I'm not afraid to have Jerry Jeudy as my wide receiver too. And we're looking, a lot of people would not be happy with these two receivers, leading their team. But I'm telling you guys, I'm going to be going RB heavy in all of my real drafts. A good, solid quarterback early on. And then I'm telling you, there's no reason to panic at the receiver position. We still have two viable receivers, both projected over 1,200 receiving yards, about 6 touchdowns. Those are good fantasy numbers, man. You don't need to stress out at the receiver position. We did see Robert Tonyan selected here, so look for a little bit more of a run on tight end, as we now see Logan Thomas off the board as well. But I do believe that the tight end position once again has some pretty good depth. There's still guys like Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, all available here, and some later round guys that we wouldn't be too confident in being our tight end ones, but can still present some good value later on. So let's go ahead and just double check. We've seen, Jalen Hurts taken here, followed by that of Matthew Stafford, and now Ryan Tannehill. So a big run on quarterbacks here in the 7th round. But with that being said, these are 3 very, very valuable quarterbacks overall, and Chase Claypool still sitting here, man. I mean, crazier things have happened. He might slide to us with the 95th selection, but I can tell you that I am targeting that of Antonio Brown. Let's go and turn those off, right? We now see Joe Burrow off the board, more quarterbacks. I mean, 4 quarterbacks in a row. So a lot of good players here who present a lot of good value. I'm telling you, man, those Denver Broncos running backs, they have such an easy strength of schedule. You definitely need to have them on your draft board, even if it's just for overall depth. They are going to, one of the two guys, right? Whether it's Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams, they are both going to have relatively productive years. One of the two is going to perform very well just based on their strength of schedule, as we now see Chase Claypool off the board and that of Dallas Goedert. So I can tell you at that tight end position, we might just go out and get our guy in that of Mike Gesicki. I'm starting to like Noah Fant a lot more from a fantasy perspective. I don't think he's going to put up over 1,000 receiving yards. He's never had more than 3 touchdowns in a season in his career, so I don't know if I'm sold on about 5 to 6 touchdowns. But his strength of schedule, it's not just the running backs for the Broncos. It's every position, quarterback, running back, receiver, and tight end. They have an extremely easy strength of schedule. So I'm starting to like Noah Fant a lot more just based off of that strength of schedule. And that's another reason why I like this selection of Jerry Jeudy as our wide receiver too a lot. So I also, looking at the guys that we're going to start targeting here with this 95th and 98th overall selection, as we've seen A.J. Dillon and Raheem Mostert off the board. I like Melvin Gordon the third a lot. I like Michael Carter here. I don't want to say I don't like Leonard Fournette, but I'm not as confident in that selection. Antonio Brown is sitting here and Noah Fant is sitting here. So as much as I want to go ahead and just keep loading up at the running back position with guys like Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette, and Michael Carter, I just don't know if we truly need the depth. I think we have 4 very solid running backs on this squad. So let's go out and let's draft Antonio Brown. I should have probably checked to see if Thomas has a tight end. He does. He has Darren Waller. So we should be in the clear to go ahead and either select Noah Fant or Mike Gesicki. And I'm going to roll with that of Noah Fant because I think that there is a chance that Mike Gesicki can still fall to us. So let's go ahead and start queuing up some of these late round guys that we wouldn't mind seeing on this roster. We're really hoping that we can get Mike Gesicki here as well. No knock on Noah Fant whatsoever, but I would feel a lot more confident overall if I had both of those guys on my roster. And outside of that selection, we need to go ahead and add some more receivers to this team. Let's go ahead and check. I'm actually not that worried from a PPR standpoint having Julio Jones, Jerry Jeudy, and Antonio Brown, especially looking at the strength at the running back position and our confidence in that Noah Fant's going to have a good PPR year, at least a very easy strength of schedule, like I mentioned, and the fact that we've got freaking Kyler Murray at the quarterback position, man. So let's just keep kind of building up this queue here, making sure we're not missing any of those late round guys that we really want to see on this team. Man, I was taking Michael Thomas in a lot of mock drafts, but I'm starting to get pretty worried overall about Michael Thomas. There is a point where, I thought, you're definitely going to miss him, for probably the first half of the fantasy season. We don't really know right now. But my initial thought was, well, let's go ahead and secure him and draft him because, for that second half of the fantasy season, including fantasy playoffs, fantasy championships, you have a receiver number one, right? An elite receiver number one. But I'm a little worried that we're going to see kind of what we saw last year. And we're not sure if he's going to be on the New Orleans Saints for the entire year. So I'm just a little bit hesitant and kind of retracting my position on Michael Thomas as a late round value. Okay, so as we're ending the ninth round, we've seen the Tampa Bay defense as well as Tyler Boyd off the board. And we're just kind of targeting any of these guys that we have queued up as we see Buffalo's kicker Tyler Boss off the board. Melvin Gordon still sitting here. I highly doubt he's going to last until that 119th pick as he is selected. Michael Carter's still sitting here. I mean, they are being drafted in this mock draft way above their overall ranking. At this point, I wouldn't mind Gus Edwards really, but DJ Chark, Will Fuller, kind of looking like our top targets, and that of Mike Williams, of course. Just going out and getting two wide receivers that we believe in, but Mike Gesicki still sitting there, someone that we're probably going to have to consider targeting as well, as we still have some room on this bench overall. Let's just double check how many. I'm going to scoop my face. Let's see. Yeah, I can still go out and get four guys. So we should probably start thinking about who we want to see on this team overall. And I definitely want Mike Gesicki on this team and one of those two receivers. But if Michael Carter's sitting here, I'm just not going to pass that talent. And there he goes. He's off the board. Did not expect him to be there whatsoever. But yeah, Mike Gesicki, definitely a guy that we want on this roster. And then really, whichever one of these receivers last draft. But man, I think Trevor Lawrence is a sneaky fantasy value. I think as week one draws closer and closer, we're going to be hearing more buzz about Trevor Lawrence, which has already kind of started. From a fantasy perspective, that is. So with these guys available here, I'm just going to go out. I mean, I really want to take Kenyon Drake here. I truly do. You know what? Let's do it. Let's take Kenyon Drake, and then we're going to target Mike Gesicki with that next pick. I was going to say I really want to target Kenyon Drake, but I'm just going to go out and I'm going to select Mike Williams and Mike Gesicki. So we're going to have to sacrifice that selection of Mike Williams, as I highly doubt he's going to last, when we have our next selection. But we do want to go out and get Mike Gesicki and feel very confident at the tight end position. Both leagues that I play in, we are able to flex a tight end. So I always want two tight ends on my roster. I know others out there don't want that. And we saw Mike Williams selected now, so that kind of takes a weight off our shoulder. But if I was going to target any other receivers here, it would definitely be Will Fuller or Michael Gallup. But I don't hate the selection here of Curtis Samuel. And I don't really hate the selection of Chenault Jr. here as well. Naheem Hines, a good value at running back. And then we've got Jarvis Landry, a pretty good overall value at the receiver position from a PPR standpoint as well. So let's go ahead and shore up our guy, Mike Gesicki, and I'm really liking this team, man. A lot of firepower at the running back position. We've got Alvin Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery, James Robinson, and Kenyon Drake. I'm feeling great at the running back position. Kyler Murray is our quarterback to lead this team. And from the receiver position, we still got Julio Jones, Jerry Jeudy, AB, kind of a little bit thinner at the receiver position, but those receivers will be available in later rounds, and those receivers are going to be popping up, week in and week out on the waiver wire as well. And at the tight end position, we have that of Noah Fant and Mike Gesicki. So feeling pretty good overall about this roster, and we will just kind of monitor things and see who we go out and get next. All right, so we still have two more bench players to add, so I'm going to go ahead and start queuing up. Really, at this point, anyone with any talent, anyone that I would like to see as a part of this roster, so we definitely want to be looking to the receiver position, but we just want to make sure that there's not anyone hanging around of good value that we miss out on. I wouldn't mind adding another quarterback to this roster just to have some depth, but really we just want to go out and find kind of a stud receiver. Maybe Rashad Bateman, Devontae Parker, Michael Pittman, some guys that are just being kind of tossed and forgotten about. Darnell Mooney is someone who looks to be pretty good value here. We've got Nelson Aguilar. So I'm sure we can find someone that's going to make us feel just a little bit. I mean, Tim Patrick's a good value here. Josh Reynolds is someone I think in those really deep leagues, like some of the 20-man mock drafts you guys have seen me do. I think Josh Reynolds is a really good, very late round value. I think he's going to be a really nice addition to that Tennessee Titans offense. Whether in terms of fantasy that amounts to anything, it might not. But I think from a real life football perspective, I do think he's going to add a lot of good value. So we probably, and there goes Trevor Lawrence. I was about to say we're probably not going to see Trevor Lawrence last here, but the other rookie quarterback who I've started to eye is Justin Fields. I think he has the best chance to come in and start early. I like Trey Lance a lot, don't get me wrong, but I personally think that they're going to let Trey Lance sit for a little bit longer and let him kind of learn the offense and get more used to things. But if the Niners come out and start losing games behind Jimmy Garoppolo, it's going to be really hard not to put Trey Lance, who you traded up, all those picks and went out and got. But you guys know I like Tua as a late round value, but Justin Fields, man, I'm telling you, I think he's going to have a good opportunity to start early. I mean, once again, they have Andy Dalton in place there, for the Chicago Bears, but I do think that Justin Fields has a good shot. In other words, I think that the Bears could come out and lose some more games quicker than the Niners and have the pressure of needing to put Justin Fields out there sooner. So Justin Fields is someone else who I have, especially in those deeper leagues, as someone that you need to be kind of targeting overall. So let's go ahead and see who's available at the receiver position. I do think that Darnell Mooney holds the best value here. I don't really want a Michael Thomas just lingering on my bench when we only have 3 receivers on this team. We see the New England Patriots receivers are still available here. You guys know that I've gone out and I've gotten Nelson Aguilar in quite a few mock drafts. So Darnell Mooney looking like our top guy. Let's just go ahead and see if there's anyone who really, we did not expect to be available. We don't want to miss out on anyone. Let's even check the defenses. Nothing looks too crazy. So let's go ahead. Let's get our boy Mooney and let's move right along, man. So with this next selection, I'll probably just go out and either get another receiver or get one of those quarterbacks I just talked about. And you know what? I am just going to add some more depth at the receiver position. Part of me wants to take a swing on Michael Thomas, who I've been trashing this entire mock draft. Part of me wants to take Marquise Brown, but man, I'm just not confident any of those Ravens wide receivers. It's really hard for me to draft them from a fantasy standpoint. So let's go out and let's get Nelson Aguilar to finish out this roster, and then we will see whichever kicker and our defense falls to us, and we will go ahead and crack down this team, baby. So at the quarterback position, we are led by none other than that of Kyler Murray. Obviously, a great fantasy value. We are super happy. I think Kyler Murray is going to have a fantastic year. I like where he's projected over 4,000 passing yards, over 30 passing touchdowns, just under 800 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. Those would be exceptional numbers from your quarterback one. At the receiver position, probably our weakest position overall, we have that of Julio Jones, Jerry Jeudy, Nelson Aguilar, Darnell Mooney, and Antonio Brown. So looking at the rest of this roster, I'm actually pretty happy with those receivers and not upset by any means, especially from a PPR standpoint. At the running back position, we do have that of Alvin Kamara, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and David Montgomery as our top 3 backs, the first 3 selections we made in this draft, so I'm feeling very confident overall from the running back position. But with that being said, we also have that of James Robinson and Kenyon Drake, so feeling even more confident in the running back position. Some good late run values to add some depth to this roster. At the tight end position, we went out and we got Noah Fant, and then we followed that up with that of Mike Gesicki, so I'm feeling super confident. I like this roster overall. We went out, we went pretty RB heavy. We got a quarterback early on. We still secured a pretty valuable receiver in that of Julio Jones. We may have reached in some opinions for Jerry Jeudy, but you guys know how confident I am. Go look at that strength of schedule, man, for these Denver Broncos players, man, at every position. It's something that needs to be, brought up and added as part of your draft board, right? So we feel also very good at the tight end position. And like I said, from a PPR standpoint, I feel pretty confident even in these later rounds, or these later round guys that we got in Darnell Mooney, Nelson Aguilar, and AB to kind of help out with Julio Jones and Jerry Jeudy for the receiver position. So I feel pretty good overall about this roster. We'll go ahead and see what defenses and kickers we get, and then we will be done with this mock draft, man. All right, so with these final two selections, as we already went over our roster, we're probably just going to be targeting either the Colts or the Dolphins defense, but I also like the Chargers. I also like New England here, but I think Indianapolis is going to have a sneaky good year, so let's go out and get them, and then we will see what kicker we end up with. Really no one who I'm crazy about targeting here. I like Ryan Suckup. He just got selected. I don't mind Robbie Gould. I don't mind Michael Badgley. I don't mind Daniel Carlson, right? I think any of these guys are going to be just fine for your respective fantasy roster in the upcoming year, man. Fantasy football as well as NFL football is right around the corner, man. I'm super stoked. I know my co-host Steven is super stoked, man. We're going to be pumping out all kinds of fantasy content this year, all kinds of NFL updates throughout the year, NFL debate. We're going to be continuing our annual The Catch podcast. We could not be more excited. So as always, I thank you all very much for watching and or listening. Let me know in the comments down below what type of mock drafts you guys are needing to see as your respective fantasy leagues begin gearing up for your actual drafts. Stay tuned for any updates we're going to be having on our personal personal drafts, not mock drafts, that we're going to be live streaming. As always, I kindly ask that you guys go ahead and smash that like button, and please consider subscribing for more future content like this. And that'll do it for today, man. So remember, you saw it here on The Catch.